the mitota would take place at night. Sounds reasonable. They would dance for hours in a very tightly synchronized movement. It wasn't like, rock and roll, do your own thing type of thing. It was highly synchronized, and they would follow this highly synchronized dance for hours until they got tired. They would also be singing while they were doing it, and from a couple accounts we can tell that they are transmitting their interpretation of why the ceremony is taking place, and they're using it for social purposes. And so this is a form of oral transmission of their culture and sanctification of rituals that will be important to them. The other thing that they did was very frequently they would have a peyote mix, and they would take drinks of peyote or an alcohol drink, and with the dancing and the drugs, of course this was demonic to the Spaniards. I mean, they're going against Christian religion here. They would eventually fall to the ground and go into what the Spaniards interpreted was a drunken stupor. So these are just natives drinking themselves to sleep. They're no good. They're trying to escape from work. One of the other things that they did was that part of the ceremony was what might be called a big potlatch dimension to it. They would gather all kinds of food, hunt extra meat, and they would cook all the food in the big bonfire, and they would eat and distribute it. And then one of the things that they did was invite neighboring bands from their territories and say, okay, come over, we're having a party. And so when the neighboring bands came over, when they left, they were given extra meat and food and deer skins, and so that's what the Spaniards saw. So what is this? If we look at it from the native's point of view and not the Spanish point of view. What I've concluded from my comparative study of their rituals in rituals throughout the Americas and examples that I have found as far away as Africa, modern Africa, is in linking it up to even some of the higher state levels of religion, is that this was a sacred fire ceremony that they were exercising. And the sacred fire represented to them something that seems to be fairly universal throughout the world and could definitely be found in its forms among the Aztecs, among the Maya, among the Inca, and the sacred fire is also found in among the tribes of the southeastern woodlands and the plains. There's the sacred fire is often related to the new year, and there's a ritual that some of you are acquainted with from Aztec culture, in which the old fire is put out and a new fire is lit, and then both in the woodlands and in the Aztec forms of it, all the old fires would be put down, and then the new fire would be the igniting point for a new set of fires throughout the community. The sacred fire also stood for something cosmological in their belief, and that is that the sacred fire represented something that again occurs throughout the world, and this is something known as the axis mundus. I don't know how many of you have heard about the axis mundus, but you find it, basically the axis mundus is a belief that the universe is connected and held together two ways. One is the vertical one. This is the axis mundus, and it is I conceive of it as a beam of light, or they conceive of it as a portal with an opening, and there's a travel up and down. It unites the heavens, where the gods and ancestors are, and the animal spirits are. It unites the earth, where humans are, and it unites the underground. The underground being both a source of the caves, for example, are very holy. The underground is conceived of as the place where life returns to, and particularly where human beings, when they die, return to before going up the axis mundus to the spiritual world. The underground is also the source of life. That's where seeds germinate and pop up and give you new life. The axis mundus was coordinated in native mythology. Again, you see it particularly among the Maya and the Inca and the Aztecs, where there was a vertical plane, a horizontal plane that went with it. And this was defined by the 4 cardinal directions. So don't ask me how humans across the earth in primitive early times always figured out that there's a north, there's a south, an east, and a west. They all figured it out. I mean, and even before they had compasses, they knew that there were 4 cardinal directions. I think it's probably linked to the movement of the stars and the seasons. For example, every group that I have looked at had its own axis mundus in its culture, and was physically located in the heart of the community, especially if it was, again, the Aztec and the Maya. So that if you go to Tenochtitlan, the Aztec capital, or to Cusco, the Inca capital, they have the central temple right in the middle of where the axis mundus is coming, in the middle of the 4 cardinal directions. So they conceive of this point as the center of the world for them. Now, it's not, the next town over, the hill, would also believe exactly the same thing. They had their own center of the world, their own axis mundus, their own cardinal points. So each culture created its own center of the world. Now, what is the functional purpose of this? Ritually, the hunters and gatherers, when they perform their ceremonies in the desert, and the Aztecs and the Inca, basically would open up a portal. The rituals open up a portal, a doorway to the spiritual world. And then once you open up that portal, what you do is that you receive the blessings of the gods, you receive advice, you can send messages up, and also it is possible for highly trained specialists, Maya kings, for example, or shamans at the hunter and gathering level. Shamans and Maya kings are actually shaman kings, and they would actually be able to travel into the other world, connect with their ancestors and their spirit gods, and come back with messages. And so what I find is that this demonic fire that the natives were practicing was actually sacred fire. If you look around the world, you'll find the circular dances, for example, the San people, even today in Africa, previously known as Kong or Bushmen. If you compare their modern day ritual around the fire, it's like reading the description from 17th century northern Mexico. Now, what are so what that began to put into my mind that there is some ritual unity or continuity and cosmological unity in the native beliefs, even though there's various ethnic expressions. So, for example, in all of them you find the ritual drinking and drugging. In all of them you find dancing. The dancing, when the cultures that are able to develop agriculture gives them a tremendous amount of extra wealth. That enables them to build pyramids and to make the dancing much more complicated. So once you get that extra wealth, the dances begin to take more complex forms. For example, when the Aztecs had their rituals, they danced all over the city. You know, a ritual would actually take where it came time to wear the skin of the sacrificed victim, they would actually take that skin to various important places that were also holy, and it was believed that the skin carried magical power or sacred power. So I began to